Hi, my name is Isgate. I'm a real estate attorney in Doylestown. Making this video because I'm getting a lot of calls about buying and selling real estate with all the COVID crisis going on. It's obviously changing a lot day by day, but when it comes to buying a house right now, it really can be broken down into two phases. Really, it's pre and post March 18th. The reason it's March 18th was that was the date that Governor Wolf gave us an addendum to his emergency disaster declaration. That's the deadline for non-essential businesses. In Governor Wolf's declaration, residential real estate is not considered an essential business. So if your agreement of sale was entered into pre-March 18th or March 18th or before, you're in the clear to be able to actually close. Post-March 18th, that's when things get a little bit more difficult. The Pennsylvania Association of Realtors had filed a lawsuit against the Wolf administration to have that determination reversed, to have Pennsylvania residential real estate listed as an essential business. But actually just last night, which is April 13th, the Supreme Court actually tossed that lawsuit. So that challenge to having residential real estate being considered an essential business was tossed. So it looks like we're going to have realtors and the residential real estate market being considered non-essential business. So again, pre-March 18th, you're in the clear. You can't actually close. Now, there's a lot of issues that you have to navigate in order to get there. Inspections, appraisals, and walkthroughs are all permitted. There are obviously some restrictions on there with having 2 people on site, et cetera, whether that's a walkthrough or whether that's an appraisal. Title can be done, but again, there's also restrictions on actually conducting closings, virtual notaries, stuff like that, but you can actually close. All this is you can in theory, but again, I think it would be best practice to ask your realtor to reach out to the seller or vice versa and get a dialogue going when it comes to a possibility of an extension to those time frames, because again, getting people out there arranging things is becoming difficult. Now, the post-March 18th is obviously a lot more difficult. Pursuant to Governor Wolf's order, in-person inspections are prohibited, appraisals are prohibited. Now, you actually can do drive-by appraisals, but when it comes to actually getting a residential mortgage, 9 times out of 10, any type of lender is going to want to have an actual physical appraisal done where the guy actually comes through and takes photos. So, so for all intents and purposes, a normal appraisal is not going to be permitted, nor are title insurance activities. So in theory, you really just cannot get to closing if your agreement of sale is dated March 18th or beyond. Obviously, as I just mentioned, by implication, you would never be able to get a mortgage in this environment anyway because of the appraisal issues and the inspection issues. So really the question is there a workaround to this? And there's really not. There's nothing that says that you cannot enter into an agreement of sale. You're free to be able to do that and to lock up a property. But the process from there on out certainly changes. As I said, you can't really do anything on the normal course of business. So you can list a property and you can actually list it on the MLS by doing a virtual tour. You obviously can't have your realtor do open houses or any types of showings. So it's making things a little bit more difficult. But there are people out there that are trying to buy houses, essentially what you would call sight unseen, using virtual tours and stuff like that. So if you do enter an agreement of sale, what does that look like, or what can that look like? There's really, essentially 2 options of what I've been seeing out there. The first one is that all of the inspection contingencies and financing contingencies, any type of contingency in the agreement of sale, the dates begin, they begin to run the date that the national emergency or the Pennsylvania State Emergency Declaration is lifted. So there would be a notation in the additional terms section that if your inspection contingency is 14 days, that begins to run the date that the declaration of emergency is lifted. The other trend that I'm seeing out there is that people are buying the property entering the agreement of sale using a virtual tour with the provision that they will be able to do a visual inspection, meaning the buyers themselves, once the emergency declaration is lifted, and then they can purchase and go to buy the property without doing a formal inspection. Again, that doesn't alleviate the time need in order to be able to get a mortgage, the time to be able to pull title and stuff like that. But again, it's ways where you can actually enter into the agreement of sale with some degree of certainty, so that you can buy it and actually get it tied up, so when all this is over, you can actually close. But again, things are always changing. Something could change tomorrow where it could, alleviate some of the issues. I know there was talk about having inspectors be able to go out and inspect properties as an essential business, but with the Supreme Court tossing that lawsuit yesterday, it's really highly unlikely that anything is going to change when it comes to that non-essential business designation. So I think from here on out until that emergency stay is lifted, we're pretty much going to be status quo with how you're not going to be able to go to closing until the stay is lifted for anything that was entered into post March 18th. But I would strongly suggest you hop on the phone with your realtor, get some additional guidance from him or her on what you can and cannot do in order to be able to get a property under agreement. If you're post March 18th or if you're pre-March 18th, on how you can actually get to closing. You can certainly feel free to reach out to me via phone or email. My contact information will show at the end of the video. Thanks a lot. Stay safe.